because I guess I felt God was starting to lead me back into music, and so I had to. I was feeling that tug, and by not having that fulfilled, I think it's when his health was just barely starting to go down, and we both got into the same movie. I took him there to be in the movie, and I was just basically his driver, and I ended up having a part in the movie, which was really cool. Because I've dabbled with acting, because it's all creative, it's all the same to me, whether it's music, singing, shooting, video, or editing, it's all the same to me. And what was the name of that movie?
Red Fish, Blue Fish.
Well, they changed the name of it.
Black.
Black Mark. Yeah, they changed it to Black Mark. And I had one small scene, and it turns out, I was watching when we finally got to see it about 3 years later. I'm going, man, where's my scene? Where's my scene? And then all of a sudden, it turns out my scene was the climax of the film, the foundation for the climax of the film. And I go, man, I can't even make a demo out of this until they release it, because then I'd give away the whole plot, which was really cool. Usually, as most of you actors know, you get a little scene, and chop chop, it's not even there no more, or it's, nobody ever sees it, let alone get the climax of the whole movie. And so in the last few years, we had a falling out, but we kind of got back together. It was just over some misunderstandings, and that was nice to find out a misunderstanding. It's always misunderstanding. So we started hanging out again. By this time, his health was getting less and less, and I was borderline diabetic for a lot of years. And a year ago, March, I was diagnosed diabetic. And so, in some funny way, it was like if you looked at us, we were kind of similar in how our bodies were doing. We're kind of following this arc together, almost like E.T. and Elliot, the way they connected emotionally,
Yeah.
And then when finally they separated, and then E.T. passed away, and then the kid got better, and I'm the kid. Here I am. I'm getting better now. It's for the last 2 months. I've had a bad sciatica in my back and not able to walk. It's only been 2 days that I've been walking again and been able to stand. And over the past year or so, I would take him out to lunch, just to take him out to lunch and come back and watch a movie on his big TV. And then when he couldn't leave, I would go pick up lunch and come back and watch a movie, just hang out, because we were pretty closer than I thought. And so then the last time I came by was on a Tuesday, and he was. It was the next day that he went in the hospital. I'm really glad I came by that day. And I actually had one phone conversation with him while he was in the hospital, which is like, that was close. But I guess nobody really had a chance to say goodbye, because they closed him up and wouldn't let anybody see him. But one of my best friends my whole life. It seems like my best friends either pass away or move away sometimes. But he's definitely doing better now. So I don't give a lot of situations like this. I don't have exciting stories, but my passion is my band, having a Beatles tribute band. That's what I was supposed to be doing all my life, and finally, it's happening. It's when I was a teenager, I tried to commit suicide one time, and this voice spoke in my head, "What about later?" I mean, it's like a very weird line, but that's the way I think. And it was basically God speaking to me in my own words, saying, I want to know what's going to happen later. Well, this is later. I got my band, and it's happening. And it's successful, even though I didn't know what I was doing. I just wanted to play, and that's all I wanted to do. And Tim actually helped, because I also costumed as Darth Vader for 5 years. And Tim actually helped me as my wrangler one day. They helped me get dressed in my costume. But he didn't come see me play in the band, but I did get to show him videos of the band. And Catherine's seen me play 3 times, which is real cool for me that someone that close is coming to see me. And Catherine asked me to edit her Worthy online course, so we're in the middle of doing that. And that's probably the most the biggest project I've ever worked on in my whole life. There's nothing bigger. It's bigger than a feature film, and you're just going round and round and round, and you do this and you do this over again, and it's just it's hard work. And Tim was actually had a lot to do with that course, and hopefully we can get by the last couple of lessons without it. But that's the biggest privilege of my life. I mean, I've had a pretty big project before, helping the ministry start in Zambia 20 years ago. So everything that's happening there is I'm kind of getting spiritual credit for as well. But Tim was like, he was my best friend for so many years.
Thank you, Darren.
I wasn't going to say anything either, but I figured if I didn't, Tim would come and haunt me. So, I had an opportunity. I was originally introduced to Tim through Katie Liz for a project. Now, I was brought on to, like a consultant or to help along with it. And I don't remember his exact wordings to me, but I remember the translation I heard in my head, which was, "You suck!" So I got really mad, and I went home, and I said, "I'll teach you, you wrestle." And I brought it back, and this is good. I told you I could do it. I knew you could. But wait, but something's not adding up here. And I think the bottom line is it was a challenge to bring me up from where it was to what it could be. And and so ever since then, it's like when I kind of muster up my courage and I learn to sew my mouth shut, and it's like, okay, here it is. Give it to me. And he'd give me the what for, and then I'd, meditate on it for a couple of days and bring my blood pressure down. And and then I would write it again, and we would come back. And I remember the last time that I was here, I would say just about probably about a couple of weeks before he went into the hospital. And he was in his room, and I didn't expect him to come out, but I just popped my head in. I said I wanted to talk and say hi and just see how you were doing. And he actually came out of the room and sat down on the couch, and I think the next thing I knew, like an hour and a half had gone by. And I said, "Oh, I better get home to the kids." But no, I remember that, and it's funny. I've heard it said before, and I just feel the need to reiterate it. We leave fingerprints on each other all the time, whether or not we're even consciously aware of it. But I think it's important that we try to become more conscious of it. It's so easy to get angry and to say a flippant word or phrase in the fit of it all. But at the end of the day, do you want to leave a good or a bad impression with that person? Do you want your mark to be lasting? So all this to say that, let's just do the best that we can to love each other, support each other, encourage each other, and lift each other up the way that Tim did to all of us. No. Sorry. But anyway, that's all. Like I said, I just wanted to, just share my 2 cents, and let's just support each other the way that Tim would have, and let's let that memory of what he did to us, let us kind of echo that on with each other.
Yes. Thank you, Matthew. Anybody else have anything they want to add? Yay!
When we came to California, I married Bales, and you've already seen my son and my husband. When we came to California, we were broken into many pieces. Tim reached his hands out to us. We were in his presence. It was the sparkle in his eyes. He reminds me of Santa Claus. Every time that I see the sparkle in Tim's eyes, even 30 days ago, we were at church with him. And God orchestrated my whole family to be able to see him. My kids, my son's wife. And I felt like God was doing us a great favor. Because along our path, Tim would always show up. And Tim was a great friend to my husband. He had so much wisdom to share with each and every one of us. And even though I was the workhorse of the family, I was that person when everybody was going to church and going to acting classes and doing their thing, I was out there working. And I don't know if you know how grateful of a person Tim was. The last thing he said to me, he came over to a store. I had just went through a liquidation of a company I'd been with for 18 years. And I got moved into another store further away than where I was already at. And we went to church, and they all came over to see my new store that I was in. And I was like being the hostess, showing all the digital stuff that the store did and, you know, different things. And the one thing I remember, and it stuck with me, as they left, Tim turned around to me and he said, "Mary, thank you." And that stuck with me. Because as legendary as he was to everybody here, he was a grateful person. And it's a grateful heart that God looks for. He doesn't look for what we did in our life, the money we made, the relationships we had. Yeah, the impacting of people is so important. But God looks at the motive of our heart and the gratefulness of my heart, your heart, and Tim's heart. And I know Tim made it because he was grateful. He knew where his blessings came from. And he valued people, and he was grateful for each and every individual. And when he went out of the store on that scooter, that's, you know, the Holy Spirit told me, that's a grateful man. And I'm very, very grateful that he was in my family's life. And he was those arms that wrapped themselves around. I mean, when I say we were broken, our first Thanksgiving in his presence gave us our meal. You know, God is a high tower. He is a shelter. He will cover you so people don't know really where you're at. And that's one thing that, because of that, even though Tim may have known where we were at, he too was a protector, just like God our Father, a high tower, because of he was no respecter of person. He looked at the heart. And for that, I want to say thank you for being that man to my kids and my husband.
Thank you so much. Is there anybody? Bob, did you want to? Okay. Thank you all for coming out to join this celebration of life and remembrance of Tim. I'm sure we all have hundreds of other stories. I want each of you to take something off that table. Those are all Tim's belongings. Rather than sending them to a thrift store or people who don't know him and love him or appreciate him, I want you guys each to take something to remember him by. At least, very least, take a headshot, a picture of him, whatever you want to remember him by. And there's plenty of food inside. And I think I even have a little tribute video we can watch inside for anyone who wants to say. But I'm so grateful for hearing all your guys' memory and for sharing with us so we could all remember those bits and pieces of how he touched us. Yes, sweetheart? Okay. All right. God bless everyone. And there's food inside. So grab a trinket off the table of Tim's and let's eat. Okay.
Okay, just in case if somebody
Oh,
goes
yeah,
up
those
against
are-
the thing, we'll have a big
Yeah,
fire.
you're probably right about that.
Yeah, because I know.
Yeah, but